Okay, so today session is all on Mahatma Gandhi and his contribution as far as the national movement of our country was concerned. We all aware of Mahatma Gandhi, father of the nation, his contribution, his role. So just to give you a brief about the early life of Mahatma Gandhi, his time period is from 1869 to 1948. He was born on 2nd of October 1869 in Porbandar, that's a coastal town. I'm sure you all are aware of the location in present day Gujarat. His father was Karamchand Gandhi, time period was 1822 to 1885, who belonged to the Hindu community. And his father was working as the Diwan or the Prime Minister of the princely state of Kathiawar in Gujarat. So he belonged to a family which was affluent and was doing well. Mahatma Gandhi basically wanted to do law. So he traveled to London to study at the University College London, and there he wanted to train himself as a barrister. So from 1888 to 1891, he studied law in London, and from there, then he traveled to South Africa. Basically, he wanted to work for the racial discrimination and wanted to work for equality and freedom of the people, which he put into practice once he reached South Africa. So in South Africa, on a journey by train from Durban to Pretoria, he was forcibly thrown out of a first class compartment, though he had a valid ticket also. So when he saw this kind of a treatment being met to him, he was quite upset, and he promised to himself that he would fight against this racial discrimination and injustice, especially for the Indians who would be uh, discriminated against for all the actions that were being taken by the European. So based on these events, turned out to be a turning point in his life where he realized that social awakening has to be brought, and he would be the one who would definitely bring in this kind of aspect. So Gandhiji soon became the leader of the struggle for justice in South Africa. And during this period, he was engaged in a heroic struggle. See, when children don't join on time, now this is what happens, that I keep getting disturbed and I have to keep admitting that. So he formed the Natal Indian Congress, and due to which he was also imprisoned, but nevertheless, he did not deter him. He started the non-violent civil disobedience movement to protest against the discriminating treatment which was met towards the Indians especially. So the South African government had to listen to the voice of reason, and in 1914 repealed most of the unjust acts which were being met towards the Indians. So it was during this struggle that he evolved his technique of satyagraha. Satyagraha basically comes from the word satya and agraha. Satya means the truth and agraha means insistence. So his policy of satyagraha was based on the principle of truth and non-violence and insistence on whatever has to be done. So after finishing with his education, after his stint in South Africa, he returned to India in 1915 and spent the next 4 years trying to gauge what kind of political scenario was existing in India. And during this course of time, then he uh, went on to organize three important aspects, or the satyagrahas, you can say, for the sake of the nation. The famous ones were the Champaran, then the Kheda, and then the Ahmedabad Satyagraha. So basically, in Champaran, he was wanting to help out. Like I think I have already discussed it with you in grade 8 also. he wanted to help out the indigo planters, because if we know that indigo makes land barren, so since Indian farmers were forced to produce only indigo, he went on to fight against this oppressive plantation system in Champaran. So his first experiment of Satyagraha was accomplished in 1917 in Champaran. The indigo cultivators were exploited by the British, as we all know, and they were bound by law to grow only indigo on the 3/20th of the land and sell it to the British at the price that they were wanting to fix for them. So these peasants of Bihar, they invited Mahatma Gandhi to take up their cause and to fight for their rights. So he offered Satyagraha, because of which then later an inquiry was conducted into the conditions of the peasants, and then some relief was granted to the peasants. So this initial Satyagraha of his, that Champaran, proved to be beneficial for the sake of the peasants. Akshat Soni is joining the class now. Next Satyagraha of his that we talk about is the Satyagraha at Kheda. Now, in Kheda, the crops had failed and the peasants were not in a position to pay the land revenue. So because of which the government refused, however, that we will not forego the land revenue. So Mahatma Gandhi organized the Satyagraha, and where the peasants were asked to refuse to pay the revenue, and ultimately then the government had no choice but to come to some kind of a settlement, and Mahatma Gandhi along with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel helped in organizing this Satyagraha, where some relief was given to the peasants. So these first experiments brought him into close contact with the masses, because now the masses realized that there is somebody who is going to take up our cause and we will be benefiting from his work. Another aspect of his was the Ahmedabad Satyagraha, again in 1918. Gandhiji led a number of mill workers in Ahmedabad in a strike against the mill owners, because the mill owners were not wanting to pay high salary to the workers. So Mahatma Gandhi said that we will organize a Satyagraha, we will resist and we will offer non-violent resistance, wherein we want the demands of the workers to be met and some kind of benefit should be extended to them. So by this time, people, especially the mill owners, realized that Mahatma Gandhi was quite a forceful personality in the scenario as far as common people were concerned. So what they did was that they agreed to the terms and conditions and said that, okay, there will be a 35% increase in the wages of the laborers, and this was done only when Mahatma Gandhi he was fasting. Then on the 4th day of Mahatma Gandhi's fast, that the mill owners agreed to the demands, and they said that there will be a 35% increase in the wages of the workers. So these kind of initial experiments of Mahatma Gandhi created a lot of respect for him as far as the common man was concerned, and people started to look up to him. So that is why he could connect with the masses, because he went to them and he worked for their problems and tried to give a solution to them. So based on these three satyagrahas organized by him, these first experiments, the people from the rural as well as urban areas both got connected with him, and he became the leader of the common masses in the true sense. So these movements then gave an impetus for the non-cooperation movement to begin, which of course began with due to the number of reasons. The reasons which were there were the Rowlatt Act, the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, Khilafat movement, all those kind of things led to the formation of the non-cooperation movement, which was formally launched by Mahatma Gandhi in the year 1920. This much is clear to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So now if you look at the map, this map shows us the important sessions and the important events that were held in India or that took place in India in different parts of the country. Here the Muslim League formation was done in 1906. Then there was a Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919 and the Khilafat movement started. So this is the area of importance. We've already done that. Lucknow Pact was signed in 1916. non-cooperation movement time phase we are discussing. Chowdi Chowda we will discuss as we come to it. And these are the areas where the important political events then took place later on. So moving to the Satyagraha once again. Satyagraha basically emphasized that we need to have truth in our system, because if truth is not prevailing, then justice cannot be met towards the people. And Mahatma Gandhi was a great believer of the philosophy of Satyagraha, that it is only Satyagraha which can bring all the Indians together on a common platform. So that is why he organized these Satyagrahas in order to bring the people of our country on a common platform. Okay, this we'll discuss later. So the non-cooperation movement was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi in 1920, and even Gandhiji urged the Gujarati peasants to join the army if they wanted to win Swaraj. So he was wanting basically to bring all factions of the society together on a common platform to raise their standards and to rise up against the British. But events of 1919, like the Khilafat, passing of Rowlatt Act, and the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, however, made Mahatma Gandhi realize that these incidents are causing a lot of unrest in the minds of the people. Until we don't put up a resistance for the British, we will not be able to achieve our aims and goals. So there were certain reasons which led for the development of the non-cooperation movement. The first one was the Rowlatt Act. Now, Rowlatt Act was basically also known as, if you can make a note, the Black Act. There were two bills which were introduced in February 1919, and the purpose of this bill was basically to curb the growing upsurge in India. And this act was passed in March 1919. Now, what were the provisions of this act was that the act authorized the government, that is the British government, to imprison people, without any kind of trial and convict them in a court. So a person could be arrested without warrant, which was not an acceptable fact. There would be camera trial, that is trial in seclusion. This means that you will not have people around you for your trial in case you have to be tried. Then there was restrictions on the movements of the individual. People were not allowed to move with freedom in different parts of the city or the country. That was imposed by the Rowlatt Act. And the last one was the suspension of the right of habeas corpus. Now, habeas corpus, we had done it in class 9. Can anybody tell me what habeas corpus is all about? Who will tell me?
It's writs, right?
Yes, it's one of the writs. Yes.
We order to.
What do we do in that?
Not more than 2 people.
The higher orders to the smaller boat.
Okay.
To appeal to a higher court?
No.
To lower court, something like that.
You all will look it up and tell me tomorrow.
Something like it's out of
Let's not get into the guessing game. We'll look it up and explain it to me tomorrow.
Ma'am.
To have the body.
Ma'am, to report a unlawful imprisonment or something.
No. Let's not get into this. Tomorrow I want an answer and you all will show it to me how you've done it.
Okay.
So the act implied basically restrictions and imprisonment of person or people, putting them into or arresting them without any kind of a trial or a warrant. So this was something which was definitely not accepted by the people and the political leaders of our country. That is why the Rowlatt Act was also known as the Black Act. And this came like a sudden blow to the Indians, because before this talks were going on about the self-governance and appeals to the viceroy, whereas when this kind of an act, that is the Rowlatt Act, was imposed all over the country, people were quite shocked. So based on this, Mahatma Gandhi then started his Satyagraha, that now he's going to challenge the government for the Rowlatt Act. So the Rowlatt Satyagraha emerged as, you can make a note, it was the first all India struggle against the British. Though it was confined only to larger cities, there were certain demonstrations and hartals or strikes also which were occurring in different parts of the country.
Ma'am, I found habeas corpus.
Now you found it.
When I found it.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, even I found it.
To
Okay.
have the body.
Ma'am, it means
Yes.
To have the body.
Yes.
To have the body.
Yes. We
Ma'am, it
must
also-
have the body.
that an
Oh,
imprisoned
yeah.
Bring
individual,
a person in front of a judge or something, and
the
No,
warden
don't
should
think these
present
kind
a
of
valid,
things, something or this on that.
the warden should present a valid reason for imprisonment of the individual.
Yes.
You told us about this now sometime.
Of course, not sometime. I explained it to you in grade 9. If you all remember
that's-
When
anything.
in
That
eighth,
was
like
that
the end of the
sometime.
eighth.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
It's familiar.
Okay.
That's it.
Let me first finish with this. So the act
Ma'am.
basically gave enormous powers to the government for repressing all political activities, because now the British had realized that Mahatma Gandhi is becoming a leader of the common man, of the masses, and he will be instigating all sorts of political upheavals in the country. The act provided that it will be detaining political prisoners for 2 years without any kind of trial. So to retaliate for the Rowlatt Act, Mahatma Gandhi then started with a non-violent movement. This movement was started on or initiated on 6th of April 1919 with a nationwide hartal or strike. People closed down their shops, the railway workshop workers went on strike, people stopped their work, and basically this spread more in Amritsar because the people also protested for the unjust impositions that were put up by the British government. The British, however, retaliated in a very brutal manner, and there was lathi charge and all. Dhruv, stop playing with that scale of yours. The British government became quite brutal, and martial law was imposed, especially in Amritsar. That is the time when General Dyer took over the command for crushing this movement against the British by the Indians.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I have
it
a
is not.
doubt.
What happened?
I have a doubt.
Tell me.
Ma'am, what does a sedition committee mean? Ma'am, it's on page 70.
Sedation committee was basically a committee which was appointed to oversee what all was happening as far as the political scenario of India was concerned. Were the Indian leaders trying to sedate people with their nationalistic talks, or was there some kind of print media which was being used to sedate? Remember, I've told you that sedation here, as far as the national movement was concerned, was to influence the people in such a manner that without thinking for themselves or without realizing what is good or bad, they would just have blind faith and follow blindly. So that kind of a thing was sedation as far as national movement was concerned. So the sedation committee setup was basically to oversee what kind of political views were floating around in the country. Were the political leaders of India trying to infuse people with patriotism, nationalism, and trying to instigate them against the British. So when the committee gave its report that there's such kind of an event is happening, because previously, if you remember the three satyagrahas which were undertaken by Mahatma Gandhi, he worked for the cause of the common man. So it was a very clear picture that there was somebody who was becoming the leader of the common masses. This was a great threat to the Britishers. So that is why they appointed this committee. And when this committee reported that some kind of power is going to happen, they quickly imposed the Rowlatt Act that we will not allow any kind of, you could be put behind bars for 2 years, and we have enormous political power as far as the British were concerned. So that is what happened. And then finally, General Dyer took over the command due to, in fact, it was due to General Dyer only that the Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place. So at Amritsar in 1919, that is on 13th of April, on the day of Baisakhi, when the people of Punjab celebrate the festival of harvesting, that is the day when people were gathered in a large crowd, but in a peaceful manner. They were trying to come together, and they were trying to protest against the arrest of two of their important leaders. One was Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu, and the other one was Dr. Satyapal. They all had gathered in the garden, the bagh, where unfortunately this bagh had only one exit, and on the three sides it was enclosed by building. So when people were gathering there in a peaceful manner, the commander of that time, General Dyer, whom I have told beforehand, he surrounded the garden or the bagh with his troops, and after closing the exit, he ordered that they should shoot the people, or they should shoot the crowd. The troops kept on firing till the ammunition was exhausted. So it was a very brutal way of handling a situation, due to which, of course, General Dyer was uh, asked to give an explanation also later on. And in this act of his, which was a very violent act, approximately 1,000 demonstrators were killed and many were wounded. In fact, there was a stampede. There was a dry well there at Jallianwala, at the Bagh, and people thought that let's save our lives, and they jumped into the well. But they didn't realize that one jumped after the other, and so forth and so on, and all kept jumping into the well, which led to a stampede, and people died because of that stampede, because they wanted to save themselves from the bullets. So a number of people were killed by the bullets as well as the stampede also. So the conscience of the nation was shaken because of this massacre which took place. And on learning about this massacre, Rabindranath Tagore in fact became very upset, and he said that I am giving away my title of knighthood, which had been granted to him by the British. So a renunciation of titles started after the massacre of Jallianwala Bagh. The British government then made a half-hearted attempt for constitutional reforms, but made it clear that it had no intention of parting with any kind of political power, that they will not allow any kind of power to go into the hands of the Indians. This much is clear?
Ma'am, Saili is disconnected. She wants to join again.
Okay. So Jallianwala Bagh, let's take a recap. Basically, it was at the Bagh in Amritsar, and people were there to attend the annual Baisakhi fair and also to demonstrate peacefully against the arrest of two of their important leaders, that is Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal. But General Dyer surrounded and opened fire on the crowd, and crowds took to the streets in many North Indian towns after the massacre, and there were strikes and clashes, and the British then came down very heavily on the Indian common masses with brutal repression, and they were trying to humiliate them in every possible manner. In fact, people were flogged. I hope you all understand what is flogged. Flog was to whip publicly, so people were flogged on the streets, and this violence then forced Mahatma Gandhi that now I think we should take a different turn and we should stop this movement which is becoming very brutal against the Indians. Any doubts in the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Anybody?
No.
Okay. All right, next we move on to the reason which also led to the establishment of the non-cooperation movement was the Khilafat movement. Now the word Khilaf means against. It's an Urdu word. So it was a movement which was started against the injustice met towards the Muslims and the other people who were involved in the struggle against the British.